Imagine two neighbors living on the same suburban street. They're both 65 years old. They live in identical floor plans, their children played on the same high school football team, and for 30 years they pulled out of their driveways at the exact same time to head to similar corporate offices. If you saw them at a backyard barbecue a decade ago, you wouldn't have been able to tell their bank accounts apart. They shared the same mid-sized SUVs, the same taste in weekend hobbies, and roughly the same $140,000 annual salary. But today, their realities have fractured into two different worlds. The first neighbor, Sarah, is currently boarding a flight to Florence. Her home is an asset, not a liability, completely paid off 5 years ago. Her investment portfolio sits at a comfortable $1.7 million, generating enough passive income that she doesn't even bother checking the balance before booking a first-class upgrade. She isn't rich by Wall Street standards, but she is free. The second neighbor, Mark, is sitting at his kitchen table with a stack of spreadsheets and a sense of cold dread. He has $210,000 in a 401k that is shrinking faster than he can replenish it. He still has 9 years left on a refinanced mortgage. He recently took a consulting gig, which is really just a polite term for a grueling 30-hour work week, because his Social Security check barely covers his health insurance and property taxes. He lies awake at night wondering if a single major car repair or a dental emergency will be the domino that topples his entire life. How did this happen? They had the same starting line. They had the same engine in their careers. The divergence didn't happen in their 20s when they were both struggling to pay off student loans. It didn't happen in their 30s when they were both overwhelmed by the costs of diapers and daycare. And it certainly didn't happen in their 50s, because by then, the concrete had already set. The divergence happened entirely in their 40s. Your 40s are the most deceptive decade of your life. It is the period where small choices carry a mathematical weight that is almost impossible to grasp in the moment. It's the decade where the trajectory of your entire future is locked in, often without you realizing you've even made a choice. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on why the ages of 40 to 50 represent a wealth supercorridor. I'm going to show you the specific, quiet decisions that separate a retirement of dignity from a retirement of desperation. And most importantly, I'm going to show you how to audit your own life right now to ensure you aren't accidentally building Mark's future while dreaming of Sarah's. To understand why the 40s are so disproportionately powerful, we have to move past the surface-level advice of save more and look at the raw mechanics of life. Your 40s sit at a unique, one-time-only intersection of 3 financial forces. These forces do not align in your 20s, and they begin to decay rapidly once you hit 50. If you capture this alignment, you build a fortress. If you miss it, you spend the rest of your life trying to outrun a mathematical deficit. Force number 1, the earnings summit. For the vast majority of professionals, the decade between 40 and 50 is when you reach your peak earning power. In your 20s, you have energy, but no leverage. In your 30s, you have skills, but are often still climbing the middle management ladder. But by 42, 45, or 48, you have the scar tissue of experience. You have the network, the specialized knowledge, and the seniority that commands a premium. This is the raw material phase. A professional earning $150,000 has a vastly different mathematical capacity to save than they did at $70,000. Even if their cost of living is risen, the absolute dollars available for investment are at their historical maximum. Your 40s are the years when you finally have a surplus of fuel to pour into your wealth engine. If that fuel is redirected into a bigger car payment instead of an index fund, you aren't just spending money, you are burning the most potent resource you will ever possess. Force number 2, the compounding sunset. The second force is remaining compounding time. This is where the math gets brutal. Think of compounding like a physical slope. At 40, you still have a 25-year runway until a traditional retirement at 65. In the world of the S&P 500, 25 years is enough time for your money to double, then double again, and then start a third doubling cycle. $1 invested at age 40, assuming historical averages, has the potential to grow to roughly $6.80 by the time you stop working. Now look at what happens if you wait just 10 years. A dollar invested at 50 only has 15 years to work. That same dollar only grows to $3.20. By age 55, you're down to a 10-year horizon where that dollar barely reaches $2.15. The magic of compounding isn't a linear path, it's a back-heavy curve. Your 40s represent the last decade where you have enough time left for your money to do the heavy lifting for you. In your 50s, you have to do the heavy lifting yourself by contributing massive amounts of cash just to make up for the lost time. The third force is structural stabilization. In your 30s, your expenses are a chaotic upward climb. You're buying the first house, paying for strollers, upgrading the starter furniture, and perhaps dealing with student loans. Every time you get a raise, a new life expense is waiting to swallow it whole. By your mid-40s, this chaos begins to plateau. You've already bought the forever kitchen table. Your wardrobe is established. Your children, while still expensive, are moving towards independence. The setup phase of life is ending. This creates a potential margin. For the first time in your adult life, your income is rising while your baseline needs are staying relatively flat. This is the moment of truth. Does that extra $2,000 a month go towards a 15-year mortgage acceleration and a brokerage account, or does it go towards a kitchen renovation and a country club membership? When these three forces, peak earnings, compounding time, and expense stabilization converge, they create a window of extreme leverage.
To see how these forces manifest in the real world, we have to look at the numbers. Most people believe that if they miss their savings goals in their 40s, they can simply make it up in their 50s when the kids are out of the house. This is the most dangerous mathematical lie in personal finance. Let's look at the catch-up trap through the lens of two different strategies: the consistent builder versus the late bloomer. Imagine a professional named Elena. At age 40, she has a respectable $150,000 in her retirement accounts. She earns $130,000 a year. She decides to be disciplined, setting aside 15% of her gross income, about $1,625 a month, every single month until she hits 65. Assuming an 8% average annual return in a diversified portfolio, Elena crosses the finish line at 65 with approximately $2.4 million. Even after adjusting for inflation, she has secured a retirement where her money works for her. She has options. Now, consider her colleague, David. David has the exact same $150,000 at age 40 and the same $130,000 salary. But David's 40s are expensive. He decides to pause his aggressive savings to fund a premium lifestyle, private club memberships, luxury travel, and a high-end car lease. He only contributes 3% to get his employer match. He tells himself, "I'll get serious at 50." And he does. At age 50, David has a come-to-Jesus moment. He realizes retirement is only 15 years away. He slashes his spending and starts shoving 30% of his income, double what Elena saved, into his accounts. He is living frugally, making sacrifices, and feeling the pain of saving. Despite saving twice as much per month for the last 15 years, David retires with approximately $1.4 million. The 10-year vacation from saving in his 40s cost him $1 million in final wealth. Even though David contributed more total out-of-pocket cash in his 50s than Elena did in her 40s, he could never recover the lost velocity of those 10 years. In your 40s, your money has a multiplier effect that simply evaporates once you blow out the candles on your 50th birthday. The stealth cost of just a little more. The tragedy of the 40s isn't usually found in a single catastrophic gambling loss or a failed business venture. It's found in the monthly burn. When you increase your recurring monthly expenses by $2,000 in your 40s, whether through a bigger mortgage, a luxury car payment, or high-end subscriptions, you aren't just spending $24,000 a year. You are diverting $24,000 away from a 25-year compounding engine. At an 8% return, that $2,000 a month lifestyle bump has a total opportunity cost of $1.8 million over 25 years. When you look at a $60,000 SUV, you shouldn't see a monthly payment of $900. You should see a $600,000 hole in your 70-year-old self's bank account. This is why the decisions of this decade are so heavy. They are leveraged by time in a way that your 50s and 60s simply aren't. 3 anchors on your wealth. In your 40s, you don't usually go bankrupt from one bad decision. You go quietly broke through 3 specific categories that feel like markers of success but act as anchors on your wealth. These are the decisions that feel normal because everyone else in your social circle is making them. 1. The success home upgrade. By age 42, the starter home or even the second home often feels small. Your income has grown and you feel you've earned a space that reflects your status. You look at a house that costs $250,000 more than your current one. The bank says you can afford it. The monthly payment only goes up by $1,800. It seems manageable. But here is the 40s math. That $1,800 a month, if invested from age 40 to 65 at 8% return, becomes $1.6 million. When you buy that dream home in your 40s, you aren't just buying a bigger kitchen and a 3-car garage. You're literally handing a $1.6 million check to the bank and the utility companies, money that could have funded 20 years of world travel in your 70s. The move-up home is the single most common reason high earners end up as Mark instead of Sarah. The luxury vehicle cycle. In your 20s, a car is a way to get to work. In your 40s, a car becomes a statement. It's the decade of the $70,000 SUV or the $85,000 German sedan. The trap isn't just the initial price tag, it's the cycle. Most people in their 40s trade in these vehicles every 4 to 5 years. They stay in a permanent state of having a $900 or $1,200 monthly payment. Because they make good money, they don't feel the sting. But a 45-year-old who drives a high-end car lease until age 65 will spend roughly $240,000 in payments alone, but they lose out on over $700,000 in compounding. The person who drives a well-maintained mid-tier vehicle and invests the difference creates a wealth gap that no amount of career success can bridge later. The education sacrifice. This is the most emotionally difficult decision of the 40s. Your children are heading for college. You want to give them the best. You see peers taking out massive Parent Plus loans or draining their 401ks to send their kids to $60,000 a year private universities. The logic is, I'll sacrifice my comfort for their future. But here is the reality. Your child has 40 years of earning power ahead of them. They can take out low-interest student loans. They can work. You cannot take out a loan for retirement. When parents in their 40s stop saving for 5 or 6 years to pay for prestige tuition, they aren't just spending the tuition money, they're destroying the critical mass of their retirement fund right at the moment it needs to be accelerating. The most loving thing you can do for your children is ensure you're not a financial burden to them when they're 80.
There is one final decision that happens in the 40s that has nothing to do with spending and everything to do with courage. By 45, most people are comfortable. They have seniority. They have the golden handcuffs. They are bored, but they are safe. They stop taking risks. They stop learning new skills. They stop looking for the step-up role that could jump their income by 30% or 40%. In your 40s, you are at your peak market value. This is the time to negotiate hard, to pivot to a higher growth industry, or to take the calculated risk of a more senior role. The difference between finishing your career at $130,000 versus $180,000 is millions of dollars in final net worth. Many people become risk-averse in their 40s because they have too much to lose. In reality, you have too much to gain to stay stagnant. Your 40s are the last window where you have enough career runway left for a major pivot to pay off massively. By 55, ageism in the corporate world becomes a real headwind. If you're going to make your big move, it has to happen now. The hardest part of navigating your 40s isn't the math, it's the social friction. In your 20s, being broke is expected. In your 30s, everyone is busy. But in your 40s, there is an unspoken script that says you should be showing your success. This is the decade where your peers start buying the lake houses, the luxury watches, and the $1,500 a night vacations. When you choose to drive a 6-year-old Toyota or stay in a house that's too small for your income, you're swimming against a massive cultural current. You have to decide, whose opinion do I value more, my neighbors today or my 75-year-old self tomorrow? The gratification trap. There is a psychological phenomenon called hedonic adaptation. When you upgrade your lifestyle, moving into that bigger house or driving that smoother car, your brain gives you a massive spike of dopamine. For about 12 to 18 months, you feel successful. But then, the new house just becomes the house. The luxury car just becomes the car. Your baseline for normal shifts upward. The person who inflates their lifestyle in their 40s is essentially trading a permanent 30-year financial freedom for a series of 18-month dopamine hits. They are buying the appearance of wealth at the cost of the reality of wealth. Your 40s audit, the immediate actions. Regardless of whether you are 38, 45, or 52, there are 4 specific levers you can pull right now to change your trajectory. The 50% rule for raises. Every time you get a promotion or a raise in your 40s, commit to saving at least 50% of the increase. You can still enjoy some of the fruits of your labor, but you ensure your wealth engine grows faster than your lifestyle engine. Downsize the status symbols. Audit your recurring monthly burn. Is there an $800 car payment or a $400 country club membership that is purely for ego? Redirecting that $1,200 a month today into a brokerage account can be the difference between retiring at 62 versus 72. The enough conversation. Sit down with your partner and define what enough looks like. If you don't define the finish line for your lifestyle, the finish line will keep moving further away as your income rises. Prioritize the core. Ensure your 401k or brokerage contributions are automated and non-negotiable. They should happen before the mortgage, before the groceries, and definitely before the vacation fund. The 2 versions of you. Close your eyes and imagine 2 versions of your 70-year-old self. The first version is sitting on a terrace, relaxed. They are healthy because they can afford the best preventative care. They are present with their family because they aren't stressed about the cost of the dinner. They have the ultimate luxury. No one owns their time. The second version is sitting at the same kitchen table as Mark. They are looking at a rising property tax bill with a pit in their stomach. They are scanning the help wanted ads not because they want to stay busy, but because they have to. They feel a quiet, simmering resentment towards the success they displayed 30 years ago, knowing it was bought with their current freedom. The divergence between these 2 versions of you is happening right now. Your 40s are not a burden. They are the greatest opportunity you will ever have to buy back the rest of your life. The math is on your side, but only if you act before the clock runs out on your compounding years. Your 40s will decide everything. The only question is, what will you decide for your 40s?